Welcome, Jodi.
Oh my goodness.
Hello.
Yay. Oh my
Hi.
gosh. It's so good to see you.
Hello! Oh, you look so nice.
Oh, you know,
Oh,
it's a
so
Zoom
sweet.
filter.
No.
You look so nice too. And hi, Gemma. It's nice to meet
Hello.
you.
Yeah, you too.
Well, welcome on in to Drummer Mamas. Jodi, we're so happy you're here.
I'm so happy to be here.
Can we start by you telling me how you both know each other?
Yeah, I can dive in here. So I heard your story, Gemma, about how you found your current drum teacher on Instagram, and I was like, that's what I did with Kira.
Oh,
I don't remember how I first saw you on Instagram, Kira, but I was following you, and it was the pandemic times. And so I was very isolated and needed something to call my own. I had two very young kids. I had a 6 month old and a 3.5 year old, and my husband and I were both working from home, and it was just a lot, as we all know. Um, so I really wanted something that was mine in that season of life, and I missed drumming, and I wanted the connection with another human and the guidance. And so I reached out to Kira and just asked if she gave drum lessons because I didn't know at the time if she did or not, and if she would be willing to do it virtually, which we obviously needed to do. Um, and she was down for that, and it was amazing. It was such a gift, not only of the guidance drumming wise, and such a huge leap for me skill set wise, but also to have that friend, that personal connection, that bit of community during that season was something I really cherish.
Oh, well, it meant a lot to me too. So,
My dream is to come over the pond someday and meet you in person because we've never
it's
met
it's a
in
happening.
person.
Either you're going to come here or I'm going to go there and it's going to be magical.
I
That's
know. I
what's going to
feel
happen.
like you're my sister from another mister. You're like this wonderful influence in my life.
Oh, careful. I will start to cry. And it is only a few
please.
minutes in. I know that you got into drums when you were younger. So, can
Yes.
you tell me about that when you started learning and how that all came about for you?
My drumming story for me starts in third grade. We started band at my school, and we got to select our instruments, and I wanted to play the drums as my instrument. And they, for probably many reasons, were like, no, drums are taken. You can't choose drums. And they were all boys that were playing drums. And so they were like, you should try the clarinet, you should try the flute. And I just did not take to, I think I tried literally every other instrument in the band, and I did not take to any of them. I really just wanted to play the drums. And so I quit. I quit band, and the rest of my school was primarily focused around sports. So I got really into sports, and that was my thing and loved that. But the drumming desire never really went away. And I was in college, the age I think around 21. And I just noticed that when I would go to shows, I would just stare at the drummer. And it wasn't like a, I think that drummer's cute, or, it wasn't like a, oh, who's that drummer? It was like, what are they doing? Oh my goodness, that looks really cool. It was more like just admiring their skills and observing that. And I was like, you know what? This desire is not going away. And maybe that means something. So I walked into a music store and asked if they gave drum lessons. And I remember them looking at me strangely. Maybe they didn't, but they said yes. And I ended up starting to take drum lessons and played Smoke on the Water as my first recital song. And yeah, that's how I like really started getting into drums was when I was 21. That story is definitely one that I come back to because at the time, at the ripe old age of 21, I thought I was too old to get started. I thought that you had to get started younger, that ship had sailed, and this was the lie that I was, one of the lies that I was hearing at that time. And man, was I wrong. Like, I was so young.
I love that Kira felt like she started playing late and she started when she was 16.
The shit we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
It's true.
So then, like, what happened to that part of your life? Because obviously you then you went away from music for some reason and then you wanted to come back to it. So like what happened next?
Me playing the drums was never in my life the number one priority. It was always something I had on, the pulse on, the beat on, but I never was like, I'm gonna practice every day and go on tour and drumming is my life and I'm gonna make it to this threshold. And so it ebbed and flowed throughout the 20 years that have taken place since then. And some seasons it's been higher priority, and some seasons I've stopped playing for a season. And that's been my story. I will say the thing that motivates me the most is playing a show. And anytime I've gotten the opportunity to perform, that really kicks me into gear because I want to do a good job. And yeah, so that's been like a big motivator for me to keep it going. And I'm so glad that I did. Even, I'm so glad that I just kept coming back to it in whatever capacity was right in that season, because now I get the opportunity to play in a band in my city with other female musicians who I love and respect. And I'm just like very grateful for this next chapter of drumming and very excited about it. And just, there's nothing better to me than playing with other musicians. I flippin' love it. And these musicians are so wonderful. So drumming has given me a lot, and community is definitely one of those things. And I think this next chapter is going to open the door for community even more so. Not only with my bandmates, but also we play locally. We play around the community that I'm in. So I'll be getting to go to community events and actually getting out into my community more, which is very exciting for me and something that seems to have been missing for a good chunk of season going through the pandemic and coming out of that and re-engaging with the world.
So you start learning the drums at the ripe old age of 21. And then were you actively in bands then? What did that look like for you? And how did that change as you met your husband and things like that?
Yeah, so I have had different bands, very casual bands, happen throughout that. One was called Hot Lady Band, and that was so much fun. Pre-kids, so I had time to be like silly and fun and like explore different things, and we just had the best time. We made merch and we were learning our instruments. We played cover songs, and it was just a sweet season of getting some more at bats and experience with playing in front of crowds. Like, I think our first show was the first show that every person had ever played before. So it was very just immersive in that experience, but very good for the growth of being more comfortable with that. And then another big part of that story is my involvement with an organization called Girls Rock. And that happened just with connections with the community, probably through exposure with Hot Lady Band. And I got connected with Girls Rock, and they asked me to teach drums at, they do a 2-week summer camp for youth. And they asked me to play drums for that camp. And I really felt ill-equipped to do something like that. I was just like, I'm not a drum teacher. Like, I've taken lessons and like I know some things, but I know. And they're like, No, really, you'll do great. These are like mostly kids who have never played drums before. So they just need love and support and minimal guidance. You'll do great. And I was like, okay. And I ended up saying yes to it. And it was one of the like my favorite weeks ever. It was just so much fun. The youth were amazing. And I saw this incredible transformation from when they first walked into the room at camp. They were shy, they were, downtrodden, they were like, seemed like lower or higher insecurity, just not comfortable with themselves. Through the transition of the 2 weeks of camp, and at the end of camp, they're on stage, rocking a mic, rocking the drums, rocking their instrument, performing for a very supportive group of community family members at a music venue. And just the transformation and confidence is so inspiring. I ended up at like joining the board after that because it's a nonprofit. And my background's in marketing, so I was helping them with marketing. And then 3 months in, the president position was needed to be filled. And so I jumped right into being president of the board 3 months after joining the board. And it was awesome. It was a lot of work, a lot of rebuilding in certain areas for the organization, a lot of learning. And I'm happy to say they're in a super great spot now. I was able to do my 2-year term, and the VP stepped into the president role a little over a year ago, and she is rocking it, and the board is thriving, and it's just really neat to see that transformation happen. So that was a huge impact in my confidence, not only as a leader, but also just the impact that Girls Rock has on your performance confidence and your like the supportive environment and feeling safe to not be perfect, feeling safe to experiment and learn, fail, whatever you want to call it. That was hugely impactful in my confidence. And then about 3 years ago, I got asked to sub drum for the band that I'm currently playing with, the June Bugs, DSM, in like my local city is what we primarily play around this area. They asked if I would sub drum for them. I said yes. So I've gotten to play with them 2 to 3 shows for the last few years. And I thought that was perfect for that season of life because it kept my pulse on the drums. It gave me at bats and experience playing and, kept that going. But it wasn't a full commit because of the kids situation and just transitioning from young kids. But it really helped my confidence to play those shows. So saying yes to being their primary drummer now feels a lot less anxiety inducing because I know that I've done it, and I feel more excited this time around, which feels really good.
It's really lovely to see because I remember talking with you about it, and I'm sure you were going to try out, or it was like right near the beginning. And yeah, it's really cool. I feel like a lot of people listening will be like, oh, that's just inspiring that this is something that you've dipped your toe into, and now you've not only enjoyed it, but it's progressed now. It's something that you're their primary drummer, Check me out.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like I'm the drummer for Taylor Swift. It doesn't have to be to that high level of achievement to feel like a real drummer. To shed the lies of if you're not this level, you're not. Who are you to say that you're a drummer?
When you're playing, you are a drummer, so you're already in that position.
Yeah, and I think for many different reasons, I have had a really hard time saying I'm a drummer for a long time. Just because it was never my life. It was never these huge aspirations that I had or priorities fully. And so getting more comfortable with that and knowing that I still have room to grow. I still want to grow more in my skill set. And that's going to come with more practice, more experience, and come with the journey. But I'm also gotten to this point, and that's worth being excited about and celebrating and acknowledging that 13-year-old Jodi would be pretty stoked to where I'm at right now.
Can I just ask how you felt like preparing for those sub gigs? Did you feel worried about taking that on? Were you nervous or were you really confident that they'd asked you and you were just going to step right in and do it?
I was confident enough to say yes to it, but I certainly felt that I had to be incredibly focused and diligent with my practicing and try to be able to pull it off. And they're an all-female cover band, and we only play songs that were written or performed by women. So it's really great synergy there. And they would play a lot of the same songs, so that allowed me to learn these songs over time and get more and more and more comfortable playing the songs, playing with them, and knowing the whole routine of setup and sound check and tear down and all the extra stuff that goes into playing a show. So yeah, I think I will always try. The more I try, the more confident I get, and the more experience I get, the more confident I get, and I hope that only continues to grow. I was actually really nervous to say yes to being the primary drummer as well, and that more so was from like my family, the time I work full time, and just saying yes to that commitment was something I really wanted to think through as well, because as you both know, there's only so much that you can say yes to, and for us to be really present with our family is a priority, and so that was a huge question mark for me.
You were talking about it's girls rock, right?
Yeah.
So as an outsider, it seems like a very, very cool organization. What they're doing is so inspiring. You've stepped up and you're now leading, like you're teaching drums. Can you speak on a little bit more about those responsibilities and how that felt? Like if you had any like imposter syndrome or anything come up and how you got over it, because I'm sure there's lots of people who have been in that situation or want to get involved and they want to help, but they might be stopping themselves because they're like, well, I'm not qualified or this. So it'd be really good to get your insight.
I acknowledge that I'm more of the personality that will jump off the cliff and then figure out where, like, why I did it type of person. So I'm definitely, I'm definitely more like lean more towards just like trying than other people. However, it still feels uncomfortable and feels scary and can feel certain ways. Advice I would give for people doing that is just listen to the questions you have specifically and really challenge those questions, because they could be true, they could be not right now types of thoughts that you would have, or they could be lies like you're 21 years old, you're too old, or you're too old to start learning the drums, and like, okay, well, where's that coming from? And is that true? Is that not true? And I was like, I don't think that's true. And maybe not even fully knowing, but knowing enough to try and to see what comes from it. You always have to feel uncomfortable to grow. There's always going to be a level of dipping down before you go up. And whatever that dip down means for you, figure out how low dip down you want to go. Like, so you can crash and burn, and that's fine too. There's always learning in these situations, but figure out, how comfortable you are with getting uncomfortable. And sometimes you don't know until you say yes and actually jump off that cliff and see where you land. When I said yes to being a drum teacher, it felt very uncomfortable because I didn't want to let the kids down. I didn't want to let the organization down. I didn't want that to happen. But what ended up happening was I knew way more than I thought I did, because I've had years of drum teachers. Kira was my drum teacher at the time. I used you as a huge resource. I was like, "Hey, I'm doing these drum camps. You've been doing this. Like, what would you do? Let's use our time to talk through that." So I remember talking to you about that and being like, "This is a situation. Can you coach me in doing this?" And you were super encouraging about it. And then I just got a feel for what each individual youth needed at that time. Some youth were completely starting from scratch. Okay, so let's just talk about the very basics. And also, a lot had to do with the mental aspects of it. So, sure, there was actual technical coaching and training. And hey, you might be feeling this way. That's totally normal. This is, going to be emotional as well. So, just being their friend was a huge piece of it. And that came very natural.
To me, that sounds like you learning as an older person, even though you weren't old at all from 21, but perhaps that gave you a totally different perspective that was really able to help those kids. Do you think that maybe that was the case? Would it have been different if you learned from when you were really young?
I don't know for sure. I do think that I had a huge passion for helping the youth because I didn't get that as a youth. And so that translated into the energy that I put forth that experience hugely. I don't remember seeing a female drummer when I was growing up. I don't remember seeing that representation. And now, thankfully, we have that so much more. But I just think that that really fueled why I cared so much about the organization was because I had that experience as a youth and I didn't want that to happen to somebody else. If they had that desire, I wanted them to be able to go for it.
People who come to camp or just people I meet about learning drums, like later, whatever number we want to put on that. And I guess I want to ask you what your advice would be to them as someone who's had lots of different experiences. What would you say to anyone who's scared to try? Because you're such a trier. Give us your wisdom.
I love what you're doing with the women's camps because having a woman as a teacher is can be such a different experience. It doesn't have to be that, but I do think that in a lot of cases it is that, and it provides this safety net of safe learning environment, just like Girls Rock creates a safe learning environment. That's such a soft spot to land, is a great place to start trying because you're gonna not feel this pressure of imposter syndrome or I have to be perfect, I have to fit this mold. Who am I to be in this room? Who am I to say I want to be a drummer? Who, like all these muck and mess that we can have in our heads. It creates just such a safe place to try to see if you like it. Maybe you try and you're like, you know what? I just love my little drumming pad and I'm going to meditate and just play on my drum pad. And that's what drumming is for me right now. I'm not gonna try and be this famous rock star. I just enjoy the meditation aspect of it, or I enjoy just the physical being in my body part of playing the drums. Or maybe you start playing and trying in safe environments and you're like, you know what? I actually think I would love to play with other musicians someday. That was my goal. That was my specific goal. I just want to play with other musicians. It didn't need to be on a global scale. It didn't need to be this major thing. I just wanted to play with other musicians and that was my goal. So yeah, I would say just find a safe environment where you can try and see what comes from it because you don't know unless you start. And starting in like a safer environment places can go a lot better for you.
Jumping back to your band at the moment, have
Yeah.
you tell me what you've got coming up, or or if you've got anything else that's planned, tell us about that.
Yes, so the band is Junebugs DSM. Find us on Instagram. We play locally in the Des Moines, Iowa area. And we've got, I don't know, like 8 to 10 shows scheduled this summer already, which is really fun.
Nice.
And we're playing at the botanical gardens and the zoo and the local ballpark and just all these fun places around town. So was really excited to go through a whole season um, of the summer with them. And I've never played that many shows in a short amount of time before. I've never like done this level before. So I'm really looking forward to this next season and seeing how the summer goes. And so far, I'm really excited about it. And yeah, looking forward to it.
I'm excited for you. We're going to switch gears. Did you always want to be a mum?
I I think so. I don't remember particularly being that into like playing with baby dolls or playing homemaker. I was more into sports and like tomboy realm. But yeah, I think I always did want a family. And then I met my husband, Neil, after college, and I moved to Des Moines, which is where I live now. And he's just so supportive of me, and I think really understood that we wanted children, and I also wanted to keep working. I wanted my own stuff going on. And he's just we've been able to work really well together and support each other. So I feel really grateful to have such a supportive partner and definitely would not run as smoothly without him. Yeah, so then became a mom and man, they're 5 and 8 now and I love this season. I just love their ages. I think it's so much fun. We just got back from a 10-day road trip, spring break trip, and we were together for 10 days and I absolutely loved it. And it was so great to just see our family connect and start to develop more. It's so hard when they're young. It's just so hard and challenging when you're sleep deprived and you're physically giving your body, and it's just hard. And so for them to start becoming way more self sufficient, but still want you around, I'm just trying to hold on to this season and just be present as much as possible and be grateful and try not to take it for granted. So that's when like the June bugs asked me to play, it felt like, oh, well, I don't want to take any more time away from my family. So I talked it over with Neil, I talked it over with my 8-year-old, and they were both so supportive. And my 8-year-old was like, but mom, you love doing the drums, you love playing, you should totally do that. And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna say yes and see how it goes. And like I said, I haven't regretted saying yes yet. I don't think I will.
I love that. That's so sweet. That's just so
I
beautiful. Can
know.
you tell me, do you have girls or boys or a boy and a girl, or how is it?
They're both boys, so
Okay.
5 and a half and almost 9.
Okay. Oh, I love that. So, can you tell
Yes.
me, like, how does it work then? And especially when you're able to talk with your eldest about that decision, like, what do they do to help you make all that happen? Like, as a family, how do you manage that?
So far has looked a lot like me just setting expectations as much as possible and creating space for the days of the show. Just really like, I mean, my husband is fantastic. So just being like, hey, babe, I have a show on Saturday. I'm going to need to practice before the show. So that means I'm going to need you to manage the children starting at this time. I might be a little bit more stressed out. I might be a little bit more, laser focused, and just communicating that ahead of time. Also, physically playing the drums is a lot of work. We have a basement, and that's where I practice. So, days where I have shows, I'm tearing down my drum set downstairs. I'm hauling my drums upstairs. I'm loading my drums into our minivan. I'm unloading the drums at the show. I'm setting them up. I'm tearing them down. I'm, doing the process in reverse. And so the physical, just being aware of that aspect of show days as well, asking for help, loading and unloading. My kids have helped me with that, and that has been the best because, as you know, like there's just so many pieces to haul up, and so like they can carry stands and they can carry the smaller drums, and I've involved them in that. That is hugely helpful. I love that they get to see their mom be a drummer and perform, and I don't know what that will translate into later in life, but I love that part of it too, is just letting them see that women can do these things too, and that you can be brave even if you feel scared, and that you can put yourself out there in whatever way.
That just flows on perfectly because I wanted to ask you what you think your boys think about you as a drummer and how it influences them and shapes who they are becoming.
They have come to shows, and I have this wonderful picture that I took of them in the crowd, and they both have their ear noise canceling headphones on, and they're like eating an ice cream, and they're like sitting on a picnic blanket, and they're like waving at me. They're both like this. And it just, I'll always treasure it. Um, they, are young kids, so maybe their attention span doesn't last the entirety of the show. And that's okay. But they are certainly seeing their mom up on stage, and um, yeah, I think my 5-year-old actually stayed engaged that entire show, and was pretty into it. But um, I think it's yeah, I hope it's really normalizes that more for them. Um, Experience if they want to get on stage someday, whatever that stage looks like. I hope that it shows that there's a path for that for them. Musically, my almost 9-year-old has shown interest in the synth. And so now I'm dreaming about a family band someday. And I don't want to push it on him. I want to help facilitate that as best as possible. But how cool would that be? Like jamming out with him someday on the synth and playing drums? That would be so cool. So, yeah, we'll see. I don't really know fully what that'll look like, but the doors hopefully have been more opened for them to see music, for them to be exposed to more things, and for them to see that you can get up on that stage.
Oh, I bet they're really proud of you. I think
Thanks.
it's such a lovely age, and they're probably fully into it, I can imagine.
How old are yours, Gemma?
They're the same, they're 5 and 8.
Oh, they are? Oh,
Yeah,
cool. So you're in a very similar age
yeah.
season.
Yeah, I find that the same about the trips, like it's this really lovely time where they're a bit older that they don't need us all the time, but they're still young enough to want to be around us, and it's really so beautiful.
It really is fun.
Right, Kira, you going to ask the last question?
Do you watch Bluey?
Yes, we watch Bluey. We watch Bluey um, at least one night a week. We were just at Disney World, and there was a lot of Bluey playing on TVs, a lot of Bluey, like people wearing Bluey stuff. Like Bluey was very in our world recently, even more so. But heck yeah, I watch Bluey. I love Bluey. Bluey is super fantastic. Our whole family likes watching Bluey.
See, Gemma, I told you Jodi is a legend. Do you do you have a favorite episode?
Oh man, I like the one that comes to mind. They're all so good. So this is just the one that popped into my mind. the mountain climbing one where the parents are just so exhausted and the girls want to play. And so they imagine their dad as this mountain. And he's just like, I'll play with you, but only if I can lay here and not move. And that was so relatable because sometimes you're just like, how do you still have this energy and I can't move? And also, you want to play with me, so fine. And just, I thought it was really cute. Cute and relatable.
They're so clever with their games in that show, aren't they? I often go,
You
God, why didn't I think of that?
very, very inspiring to engage and have fun with your kids. Do you have a favorite episode?
Yes, I do. I actually know the title because I asked my girls, I think, or maybe I asked Gemma, but it's the one where they're playing doctors and and I think Bluey's always going on Bandit, and he's like Bluey, and he's got like an octopus in his stomach. You seen that one? Anyone?
It's hilarious. Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah, that's my fave. Or any time they're old grannies, to be fair.
The
Oh,
grannies are
they're very
great.
good.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite, Gemma?
Of course. Of course. My favorite is asparagus. You know, where they have do you know that one?
I don't
Yes.
know.
Kira? It's series one, I think. It's one of the first ones I ever saw, and it's where Bingo, it's where anyway, Bluey gets the stick of asparagus. And what makes me laugh is that the the dad says, like, come on, eat your dinner properly, sit nicely at the table. We're not animals. And and then her mum tells her that with the stick of asparagus, she can turn any of them into different animals. I can't
Oh,
believe you don't know this episode.
sorry. I
Oh,
have
it's
time to watch it tonight. That's what I'll
good.
do.
It's it's so funny.
Thank
You've
you.
been Bluey shamed. You've been peer pressured into watching the
No.
asparagus episode.
I'll report back.
You will, because
I
it's so
will.
good.
I will. I will.
You'll be texting me at midnight.
I will. You're welcome. Thank you so much for your time. I'm so proud of you, like as a friend, as a teacher, as a woman. Like what you've done is just so lovely to witness. So I'm fucking so proud of you and cheering you on.
Did I tell you what I plan to do with the money I make from the shows this summer?
No.
I am putting that money into a separate savings account and planning to fly and come to one of your women drum camps. Hopefully next year.
That's so lovely.
Fuck!
Oh.
We've recorded you on tape now, so I'm going to hold you to
Been
that.
recorded.
Oh, that would be the dream. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be so
Doing all
cool
seven.
to do. And a great use of that, keep the dream continuing and the adventure continuing and that journey going. So yeah, that's my goal.
The dream is funding itself. That's amazing.
Yes,
Yes.
self-funding dream. Who would have thought?
I know.
Oh, it's a lovely story. It's really sweet.
I love it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I think you're both amazing, and the message for moms, even if you're not a drummer, translates so well to, I think, just a shared experience we all have with our personal goals and discovery, our feeling like we're spread so thin, a love for our families and wanting to be a great parent to them and a guide for them. And it's a lot of hats we wear, and I love wearing those hats. I love those different hats, but it can feel overwhelming, and it can feel like you have to let some of those hats sit on the sideline for a season, and that can feel uncomfortable.
I think what I like about you is that you are really quick to say how it feels. Like, this is uncomfortable, but you're really brave because you sit in it, you know? And I think that's where the magic happens, isn't it, guys? Because then you're uncomfortable, and then you're like, hey, but I didn't die. I'm okay. And then you can choose if I'm going to keep the hat on or I'm going to take it off. So I think carry on. Well done. Not to sound like a patronizing dick.
Get a hat stand. That's what we all need, a hat stand.
Oh!
Not to worry about it. Just
That's what we need. Oh,
Yes, take it off.
amazing. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please do share and please do leave us a positive review because that helps people find us. Until next time, take care.